Hi there, everybody. It's a great and glorious, super famous one day Nick Dutcher back on the camera again one more time. Hi there, how the heck's it going? I've been given a request to talk about talking in tongues, which is probably one of the most fascinating subjects on the face of the planet. Why? Because there's so much. I mean, it's just another one of those really, really cool subjects. Like everyone has heard about it. You know, the phrase has been used. It's used in religion. It's mentioned in the New Testament. You've got your Pentecostalists always going on about Hallelujah. You know, heard and talking in tongues and the rest of it. But what, in the name of all that's holy, does the phrase talking in tongues actually mean? What does it refer to? What could it be used for? There's some kind of speculation that it could in fact be related to glossolalia. There was one chap I used to know, and if he might even be watching right now, who used to talk a lot about glossolalia and how important it was, and he would practice glossolalia. And basically, this is the random and rapid enunciation or speaking of pairs of consonants and vowels, or vowels and consonants, or vowels and vowels. Now these things, I think they're called phenomes or something like that, not pheromones. Pheromones is something completely different, but I think they're called phenomes, okay, namely little units of sound made up out of the letters that we've got within our alphabet, the way that we use it, okay. I think there's 206 of them, and basically, if you want to do glossolalia, you practice it. You create all kinds of mantras and learn how to think of semi-randomly about the patterns that you're coming out with. And if you do it like rapidly enough, it is believed by the people who try and practice glossolalia that it has some kind of effect upon the mind, putting your mind in some kind of like weird cycle. My personal impression is it might help to stimulate creativity, because you're creatively thinking about quite so many different things at the same time. You've got the audio stimulus of you chanting in all these different sounds and the rest of it. And it will be really rather a peculiar personal experience to use that as your meditation tool, to use random sound to see what can create. And the random sound is coming from your own mouth, and it's also being generated inside your own head. I mean, this is like pretty intense stuff. You will probably admit. And so the idea is you practice it, and then that helps you to reach a particular desired state of tranquility or bliss or ecstasy or something. In my mind, it would be a bit too overly stimulative for me to be able to do anything like pretty practical with it. But on the other hand, some people might find that as a useful gateway to try and release some kind of like energy. It might help to stimulate like the gamma brainwave frequency, the incredibly fast brainwave frequency. That's another possibility. And people do say that the gamma brainwave frequency can help to create all kinds of anomalous experiences, such as experiences of ghost, astral projection, spirit vision, auric vision, and so on and so forth. I mean, the quantity of things that people claim can occur as a result of basically talking in tongues is as a result of the gamma brainwave frequency is pretty intense. So if you think about that, you've got your gamma brainwave frequency potentially going there. You've probably got lots of other things going on because of the sound and the randomness and the whole atmosphere, and maybe even the belief that you've got that you're doing something vaguely religious and holy. It must all be mounting up to some kind of weird experience. But can it be interpreted? If my memory serves me correctly, which of course it might not, but I think it does. No, I can't provide you with the link, so don't ask me. There was some studies done upon people who said they could do this talking in tongues glossolalia thing really rather well, and it was still found after like an extensive periods of their glossolalia had been recorded that there were some repeated patterns. So these were people who thought they were doing it completely randomly, but instead what they were doing was coming out with a pattern that sort of emerged as they carried on doing their particular glossolalia meditation. Alright, so maybe they did Al, Bith, or Haken, and so on and so forth very quickly, okay, and they did that same pattern again and again and again, and maybe that was part of another pattern as well, which would go over like a 10-second period, and that would be part of another pattern as well that would go over like a 60-second period, and so on and so forth. So maybe their brain had found like a comfortable pattern they could do it in, so it had become basically a bit like a very complex, very dramatic mantra, rather than necessarily something to bring about that that random chaotic craziness that talking in tongues is supposed to do, as far as like generating that occult, supernatural, paranormal kind of like thing. So Is it worth working at? Well, again, it depends upon what you want to achieve. If you just want to terrify people who you happen to have invited around for one of those pot smoking, candle and incense burning kind of like nights when, you know, it's all getting a bit weird, and then all of a sudden you come out with all this glossolalia, then maybe you might impress somebody, or alternatively, like everyone might think you're crazy. So from my point of view, what would I personally, if I was to use this, use it for? And that would be for personal mind-altering experimentation, just to see basically what happens and what I can do with it. Just like I use mantra in many different ways, just to see how many different forms of experiences I can generate within mantra, and different sensations that I can go through when doing mantra. Maybe you could do the same thing with glossolalia, talking in tongues. Okay. Does it happen spontaneously? I've never really thought that that would be likely, but maybe it could. I don't know. So there's still lots more questions. There's very few answers, just lots of questions. And the only thing we can do is to carry on experimenting, carry on exploring, carry on having these strange experiences, because these strange experiences say something about us as human beings, as we have the capacity to have these strange experiences. That's more or less all we can say, I think. I could be wrong, but this is, you know, this is one of Nick Dutch's blogs, so basically you're going to hear what Nick Dutch says. Right here, right now, I'm buzzing on caffeine and nicotine, but I'm still not smoking. I'm on like, was it week 6, week 7 of being a non-smoker, which is totally excellent. And I'll speak to you in a while.